was released from this university, which I'm sure a lot of people know who I'm talking about, just admitted a couple weeks ago that the information that they passed out to the public was flawed. Well, as far as I'm concerned, they should be sued because it's fraud.
Had any of this made it into peer-reviewed journals, as far as you know, or are these like working papers or white papers that the university and the industry were just producing?
I can't answer that.
Okay, I'll have to look into that myself. I'm not sure, but that concerns me that they're owning up to these kinds of mistakes, maybe if they call them mistakes, or this kind of bad science, and hopefully the peer review process would catch it before it makes it into publication.
Well, it was, first of all, they went to various communities and promoted it. Individuals from the co-op, from the university. So, and they're promoting it, that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, where's the science? Now you have other universities that have a grant that are doing the studies. Of course, that information won't probably be out for maybe another 2 years. We don't have 2 years to wait. There are too many victims out there. And another thing, the DEP will say there has never been a water well contaminated, or the industry will say it, the DEP will say it, not one water well contaminated. What happened in Demick, Pennsylvania, 9 square miles? And the industry is in federal court over it. And it was because of the drilling and the fracking.
And that still is under litigation, and I don't know how much longer it's going to be, but yeah, this is a case that potentially, Ron, could set a big precedent.
Exactly.
It's very precedent-setting. It has precedent-setting potential.
Now,
serious.
Here's another question. I know people that have water buffaloes. I know dozens of people that their water has been trashed from drilling. Their water was fine until they drilled and they fracked. And they have water buffaloes, and they're bringing water into them. But not one water well has ever been contaminated.
Well, that's the line, isn't it? Look, you mentioned about the need for academics to work out, for this to come out in good science. You have an engineering background. Let me ask you about the engineering aspects of it. All these casings and linings and all of this stuff, was this really safe to begin with? Because we were convinced that the technology that had been tried in other states, it's safe. Let's bring it to PA. Were you concerned about the technology itself that Halliburton, I understand, had actually developed?
First of all, I don't have an engineering degree. I have a degree in business administration.
Okay.
But I have a lot of common sense. Another thing that what people have to realize with these wells being new, and you're going into them horizontally, you have a lot greater pressure because you're going in horizontally. It's only common sense as opposed to going vertically. Plus you have a lot of heat. Now what happens to cement when it's overheated or dries too quickly? It cracks and spalls. Well, what's going on with these casings? Because I could show you wells that are bubbling outside the casing.
Has that been documented anywhere where the public can know this?
Not yet. Please,
before the end of this broadcast, drop a couple of websites on this so that our listeners can know where that they can maybe, not right now, but please, let's just put some of that out there so at least they can know to go look for themselves. One more issue I'd like to get with, and I apologize for jumping around, but I want to keep the show moving so that Earth Talk doesn't hijack the whole show here. This issue of the Clean and Green Act. There is a House bill right now, which I understand is passed by the House, going to the Senate, that has to do with appraisal. And as it currently stands, I believe it's done on a county-by-county basis. If a farmer is signed up for a Clean and Green program, right now it's on a county-by-county basis. Some counties are saying the part that you're developing gas under is no longer enjoying the lower assessment rate. It's higher assessed. And the rest of your farm, which is clean and green, is being appraised less than fair market value. How do you think, Ron, this is going to play out? Do you have any crystal ball or prediction or anything?
Well, I should jump back to the severance tax and
Yes.
forced pooling. Let me jump back to that real quick. If the forced pooling goes through, that is definitely against our rights. That's violating our rights. Why should you be forced?
It's eminent domain, basically.
Sure. Okay, so where does that leave you? All this is a corporate takeover. This is more power for the corporations to run us. That's exactly what's happening. So, and you're limited to rights. I've got a problem with that. And so do a lot of other people. And then they want to call it fair pooling. or conservative pulling. Let's put a nice soft name to it, okay? A politically correct name. But anyway, how that's going to play out, if the industry wants to, if they get taxed, then boom, they're going to want something for it. But do you realize the amount of damage that's done on our infrastructure as far as roads and bridges already? That 7% severance tax isn't going to cover anything. And the pollution on the number of streams that have been polluted, in land and air and water. You know, let's get the tests done. Why is the industry so worried? Gas isn't going anywhere. And another thing, it's about export. That's another thing that people don't realize. You realize all the companies, China, Japan, Singapore, the Belgium companies, I mean, or the Norwegian companies that are involved here. I mean, it just goes on. India. This is about export. So, but that's another thing the public needs to know. And the industry knows what they're doing, and, well, they've got the money to buy everybody, and including our governor and our attorney general.
Boy, that is a sad note to end on. But Ron, yeah, really, that's a dismal note to end on. Could you tell our listeners just real quickly some places they can go to get the lowdown on this, to get some good information about this?
Yes, you could look up DamascusCitizens.org. You could look up Marcellus-Shale.us. You could also go under TEDx.com. Also, FW Can Do. That is Fort Worth. An individual down there, and he will tell you, because there are some super websites in Texas, and FW Can Do is very informative, and I think that's .org.
Yeah, FW Can Do, FWCANDO.org. Yes.
Yeah, not to interrupt or anything,
No,
but when the Pennsylvania DEP looks at the history, this isn't a new thing. It's been done in other areas of the country.
Yes.
And, you know, Texas, Colorado, and those areas are less populated where it's been done.
Right.
So maybe it isn't like we're a more populated area with a lot more watershed.
That's right.
And but the history of what's happened in those areas should be enough for everybody in New York and Pennsylvania to go, hey, wait a minute.
Look how New York's put the brakes on this.
Yeah,
They've really put the brakes on.
If it didn't destroy any wells, then why are all these wells in Texas and Colorado and things happening there? So I mean, the history is right there. The damage was done somewhere else. What makes makes people think that it's going to be any different here? That's, to me, that's
Yeah.
You know, that's like a no-brainer. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you know, put the halts on the damage before it's done, rather than looking at it from, well, how much money are we going to make?
You know, and it's certainly a personal decision. Excuse me, Ron, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's certainly a personal decision. Every landowner has his or her right to make the decision. However, we're all hydrologically connected, right? Unless you live at the top of of Mount Everest, we all live downstream from someone. We're all connected. So, you know, what you do will affect people around you in the air, the water, the soil.
That's correct. And again, I could take you to dozens of victims that are not happy, that have been affected negatively, and their lives have changed forever, and not in a positive manner. And they could care less about the money. They're concerned about their health now. Some of these folks are having health issues, and now they need to know, we need to get doctors in that are going to be able to examine these folks to see what is really wrong, what's causing these symptoms. I have some people that have already been tested that live around the compressor plants that have phenol in their blood and benzene in their blood. And they've been sick. They've had nosebleeds. They've had sore throats. They've had body aches, fatigue. It goes on and on. And again, okay, if there's not a problem here, why would the industry be so adamant of not doing research?
Well, I mean, it's one thing to know what individual constituents will do. I mean, but then synergistically, we were talking about this off air. Synergistically, what do these chemicals do, in concert with one another? So what we're getting into here is a whole new level of toxicology. I mean, a whole new